All right, Charlotte Soccer Show World Cup Banter edition. We're taking the Premier League banter extension of the brand and extending it globally. I'm your boy Danny Brams here with Matt Geslin, and we're coming back onto you live via YouTube. Not really live, but live enough.
Close enough.
Immediately after, this is a quick instant reaction to the release of the U.S. men's national team roster, as we are just a few short weeks away from World Cup action.
2 weeks, Danny Brams. 2 weeks away.
Amazing.
That is it.
I can't wait to play. We play Wales, England, Iran. Going to be amazing right around Thanksgiving. I mean, what a time. It'll be some afternoon games, some early morning games. It'll be amazing.
I mean, I think we're all in anticipation of that England game on Black Friday.
Right.
But obviously there is a big one ahead of that against Wales to kick it off. And now we know who's going to be playing in potentially at least part of the conversation for that starting 11 against Wales on the 24th. So an interesting lineup for sure. Greg went with some surprises here and there, but overall, I think, for the most part, I would say definitely the team that we were expecting to go. And again, just a couple of surprises here and there that I think, may catch some folks off guard. I know one of them in particular caught me off guard for sure.
Ooh, can't wait to hear about that in a second. Let's do it like they did. They released it position by position. Let's go positionally down the list and talk about who we expect to be the starting 11 as we go through each position group. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Kick it off with goalies, or you want to go?
Yeah. Take it. It's the root. It's the foundation of any good team. You got to have a goalkeeper. Even though I've said many, many times on Charlotte Soccer Show that goalkeepers are the easiest position to replace on the pitch and things like that. I've denigrated goalkeepers. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to run away from that. But let's start there anyway, because that's at least get it out. Let's just get it out of the way. That's kind of the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think,
not that it really is the most important.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty straightforward one if he's healthy. Greg mentioned it as well during his post interview with the rosters with our boy TT.
Friend of the show.
It's Matt Turner, right? Number one guy if he's healthy. Ethan Horvath would be my second choice if there's any question. I think he's been way better in the cycle, showing off in kind of some of those Gold Cup games earlier on, and then also when he got some opportunities in the summer. So definitely would be my backup. And then Sean Johnson is really an emergency guy. I'm not even as an NYCFC fan, I've been pretty harsh on him all year. I think this is a kind of one of those, like, let's just get him that opportunity, but he's not really going to kind of play is the way I'm looking at it. Unless it gets really dire. I'm going to go an instant hot take and say that I want Sean Johnson starting for this team. Wow, starting.
Honest. And that's as an Arsenal fan with Matt Turner there. But I got a big shocker for you. I got something that's going to blow your mind here right as we get started, because we're being crashed with the banter brand now has expanded one more time.
Wow.
And John Hayes on air is joining up with us. He's coming into the mix, and
look who it is.
World Cup. Look at there he is, the man himself.
Hey guys, what's going on? Some big news tonight.
A little news.
Big news. We're talking goalkeepers. We're going positionally down through the roster, started at the top, and I just tried to blow Geslin's mind. You tell me if this is too hot of a take. I want Sean Johnson as the starting number one for the U.S. team in Qatar. What do you think?
You know what that is? I won't designate that a hot take. I'll designate that as a Danny Brams staple take.
Yeah, 100%.
Straight from that MLS lovers notebook that he has behind his left shoulder. I think as an Arsenal guy too, you don't want Matt Turner.
I pointed it out. I said that's what makes me feel weird about it, but just I don't know what to say. I just like Sean John. I just think he's just a more imposing presence. I think he's someone who organizes his defense a little bit better than Turner and Horvath. For me, you know how it is, John. It comes down. It's not pure skill. It's about how you can relate with the team. And so I just think he's the guy I want back there barking orders at a bunch of guys who have not really played together a lot and don't really have as much as Weston McKennie was trying to sell this team has such great chemistry in the post-game interview. I don't know if I really buy that, but I like Sean John. I know it's not going to happen. That's another thing, a staple Danny Brams take is that I will throw stuff out there that I know has no chance of happening. So that just is what it is. What about you? Is it Turner or Horvath for you?
First and foremost, I need to say, I'm making my debut on the show. Premier League banter has been fantastic. The first 2 episodes, it's been
John.
awesome to watch that. The only thing about this show is what's the USA version of Premier League banter? What's the World Cup version of Premier League banter? Is it World Cup Banter? What's the show?
We called it World Cup Banter right off the top. We called it an extension of the brand, which was an extension of the brand. So it's Charlotte Soccer Show World Cup Banter. And if it was the USA Banter, if you're wondering about that, how about our boy Geslin, who was just gripping through the text chain as this roster was being revealed and saying, "Oh, we suck. Oh, this is horrible. What is this decision? What's that? Like, what is going on?" What did you make of that, John?
Well, that's what happens when you're a fan of France and you're absolutely spoiled by world-class talent. You look at this roster and you go, well, they're not beating France. And I can respect that because it's all about perspective, right? And to answer your question, I think that you have a plan if you're Berhalter to start a goalkeeper and give him the opportunity to earn that start in game 2 against England. But if it's a poor performance, make a switch. Yeah. Right. So to give you the cop out, I don't care who starts game 1 between Turner and Horvath, but if they have a great game, put them in for game 2 against England. If they look a little shaky, give the other guy a chance. Obviously, that's not your best case scenario when you're heading into a World Cup and you don't have a clear number 1 goalkeeper. But this team clearly does not have a number 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah, and in a tournament like this, though, you want to keep that hot hand going, right, John? I mean, to your point, you're going to have a couple of days with these guys. Like Greg said, everyone's arriving on Monday. You're going to get a couple of training sessions in. Who looks hot? Who looks like they're, like Danny Brams was saying, controlling the game and controlling the field. And then you roll with it, right? If they're hot after that Wales game, keep it going. It's a one of those tournaments. Yes, you plan all 4 years for it after the last one. And then it kind of is one of those
or eight.
Yeah. But it's one of those tournaments that, it comes and it goes, right? It's really a hot, really quick hitting, who's in form, to take Greg's quote of all time, I think. But it's really one of those tournaments. Who's got the hot hand, even up front? At most positions, you're looking at who is giving you results right away. It's not a long season like you're in the Premier League or in the MLS where you have 40 games, 30 games to see how it expands, right? It's instant reaction. Who's got the hot hand? And so I love that call, Johnny. Like, start one and see where you're going after game 1.
You do a great job, John. Anytime you're analyzing a World Cup, you always put it in terms of the game within the game and how you're playing across the course of the group stage, which I always respect and appreciate that about you.
And that's how I do it. I mean, when we're thinking about the United States and we're thinking about what success looks like, right? It is getting out of the group. That is success. And so I'm looking at the 3 games, the 3 matches as, okay, how do you get 4 points out of the first 2 matches? Like, that's the goal for me when it comes to the United States. You got to beat Wales. The Welsh roster was announced earlier today. I looked at the roster and my first thought is USA is better than this team from top to bottom. Now, there's some superstars that play for Wales, but it's on the total different end of the spectrum than the USA. You're talking about guys who have been around the block, guys with experience, which is great for World Cup play, having that experience. But without those players like a Gareth Bale or an Aaron Ramsey, Wales really doesn't have much to offer. Yeah. So I like the injection.
And Bale's nothing more than a super sub at this point in his career anyway, right?
We'll see. I think
he'll get the start. He'll get the start.
Johnny and Art on the same page here. Yeah. He's getting ready to show off at the World Cup for sure.
Do you think Turner playing in the Premier League has any type of edge, just of like knowing the tendencies of the players, the attackers he'd be facing from the Premier League, just because he studies them a little bit more? But even though he rarely sees the field except for cup matches and things like that.
Probably not. Just like answering as honestly as I can. Like, I think the goalkeeping position, and I don't want to interrupt you guys. You can keep rolling along. I'm happy to chime in on every position group.
Let's take it to defenders. Let's take it to defenders.
Oh, do we have to?
We want to project. We're trying to pick our starting 11. We're trying to pick our starting 11 out of this group, basically, as we comment on the groups. And what made you react? Why are you so mad about this defense? You're not seeing it. You're not loving it.
Well, it's not that I'm mad about the defense. It's just like
it is about talking about them.
Where it's the glaring weakness of the squad. 100%. And that's why I would prefer not to acknowledge that, because the way that I feel about the midfield is it's one of the best U.S. midfields I've ever seen. The problem is behind them, you've got the savior, Tim Ream, coming straight off the Premier League pitch in West London to try to link up with Walker Zimmerman and get this job done. But
See,
Talk
everyone always
talk
says,
about some flow. Sorry, Dan Brams. Talk about some flow in your center backs, by the way.
yeah, that is
True.
some mad flow. I agree with that. But everyone always says, oh, Tim Ream, he plays in the Premier League. You know, you got to give him love. He's a Premier League center back. He's like the worst center back in the Premier League. Is like he's on a bad team, and all his team, the fans of that team, wish they had a better option. You know, it's just like just being in the Premier League doesn't automatically grant you the status, I feel. And I don't know who's better, Walker Zimmerman or Ream. If we're anticipating those two as the starting center back pairing, who do you think is the anchor?
Man, that's tough. I mean, to your point, it's not about being in the Premier League, right? But it kind of is. I don't know. I would take Ream in this instance.
Did you just say it is? Did you say it is what it isn't?
No, it is what it is.
I think you kind of just said it is what it isn't. I think,
well,
in so many words,
slip of the tongue. But I mean, I've watched Fulham this year. They've looked good. To your point, they're not obviously a top side, right, in the Prem. But
okay, I need to hold on, guys. You're not giving Fulham enough credit here. They're ninth in the table.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I've watched them. I'm giving them credit. They're almost going to catch my Blues. You know, it's a little dicey right now for us. But I think that, you know, they've been impressive, you know, and I think that centerpiece at the back has been Tim Ream for them. Obviously he's not alone, right? But, you know, he's been with them a long time. He went down with them. Now he's come back up. You know, I think that accounts for a lot too. He's been around the block, like you said, Danny Brams earlier. I think he provides a lot of experience. He's seen a lot of football at the highest level, regardless if you want to say it's, you know, a second tier Premier League team or whatever it is. He's still got that experience at the highest level, week in, week out, in training, on the pitch. You know, any type of cup game that Fulham could potentially play in, that's an additional opportunity to see some high class games. So yeah, he's of those two. And again, this is really picking bottom of the barrel here, of course, but you know, of those two, I would say Tim Ream is my guy, at least, for sure.
I'm on the other side. I only say it's Walker Zimmerman because he's been the guy for the entire World Cup qualifying campaign. Ream hasn't even been on this squad.
Yeah,
he hasn't even been in the squad. This is the first time he's been in the squad in months.
Right. And he just got that default, you know, you're in because you're in the EPL. That's basically what the way it worked for him, I feel.
But the reason why I like it is because do you know the competition that he played the last time he was on the pitch? Manchester City. Like he's going up against Jack Grealish already.
Yeah.
He's going up against Bernardo Silva. He's going up against Kevin De Bruyne. You're talking about some of the best players in the world. He was on the pitch with them literally like 4 days ago as of this time of this recording. Nobody else, not many people in the United States have the ability to say that.
Yeah, maybe I'm being a little unfair. Maybe I'm being a little harsh. I'll tone it down a little bit on my
get that MLS, get that MLS feeling out of there, Danny.
Well, Danny Brams, what do you think about the edges, though? What do you think about the fullbacks?
Yeah, because I would just want to say there's very little depth in the center backs. I mean, it's Ream and Zimmerman, and then it's Aaron Long, and then and Carter Vickers is there, but like he's kind of a hybrid. As far as the edges, I think I'm going with Dest and Anthony Robinson, Jedi Robinson, I think are my starters. But this is where one of the biggest surprises came in was Shaq Moore making the squad. That kind of has shocked everybody. That was the first like whoa moment as the roster was revealed. So it just seems like we got a lot of fullbacks that all kind of do the same thing. DeAndre Yedlin, Joe Scally kind of round out the group. And I don't know, it's like we have too many fullbacks.
What about Cameron Carter-Vickers?
Yeah, I was going to say Cameron Carter-Vickers, another one too, but Celtic's a little bit on the weaker side. I would say Scottish League is not the highest quality. I mean,
yeah, we saw that in the Champions League.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I mean,
right. You watch them play in their domestic league, and you're like, oh, this team's amazing.
And then they go to any type of competition
outside of Scotland competition, and they're horrible.
Yeah. I mean, I like Joe Scally. I think he's a sleeper at Borussia. They're kind of, you know, Mönchengladbach, sorry. They're kind of moving up the table, you know, a little bit. He's a solid player on the right, you know, between him and DeAndre Yedlin. Serginho Dest doesn't defend. I know, but for me, Serginho Dest doesn't defend well enough, and you need someone to defend on that wing, especially with, you know, England. They're going to throw a bunch of speed and offensive players at us. Wales, if you put Gareth Bale on the left, who's going to match up with him? You need to have someone that has some defensive skill on that wing. Dest, no doubt about it, a talent, no doubt. and even could play, a little higher up the pitch if we need to, as things kind of progress throughout the group stage of the tournament. But you need to have someone with some sense of defensiveness towards the back. You'll see it on England in their roster announcement. Trent Alexander-Arnold's probably not going to make it for that exact same reason. So if he's not going to make it, there's no way I'm putting Serginho Dest in kind of that same spot. That's just asking for trouble.
Well, you know what he would be? He would be an impact sub if you are down and you need a goal.
Exactly.
But it's nice to have somebody like that on the bench that could come on and bomb forward from on the outside and just go for a goal. And that's what makes this competition great, right? It's like you're going to be in the 60th minute at some point and you're going to say, shit, we need a goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and with the 3-game setup, you can really just take it minute by minute once you get past the 45-minute halftime break, especially if you're behind by one, or even if you're in a draw and you've got a point secured, but you need 3, you can go for it there. Defense obviously is an issue here, but when you think about the squad as a whole, it comes down to Berhalter and how he can set them up and how well drilled they are and how prepared they are to work as a group. This feels like, to me, a Charlotte Soccer Show episode, right? It's like, it's perfect that we're leading with the defense here. It's like, that's what we always talked about. It's just, it starts at the back.
Yeah.
And if this group is not on the same page, it could be, a quick tournament and Wales wins 2-1.
Yeah.
Well, who's your starting? Who are your starters then?
I like Yedlin for experience.
Okay.
And
it's got to be Robinson, right?
He's locked in. Locked in as a starter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and especially with his buddy Ream next to him, that'll be a little
chemistry for the people. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, I wonder, like, again, if we are, you don't want to look too far ahead, but like we do want to advance. At some point, I feel like we could advance and then find ourselves hamstrung going against a Brazil or a France and just having no center back depth. It's just really weird to have like that many fullbacks and only 3 center backs to me. But
if we draw like Brazil or France, and that's when you just like get drunk before the match and
one of us may move on. We'll see. Yeah. But Danny, to your point, I think it's a really bad, pool for center backs. Obviously,
who are you going to put there? Yeah,
there's obviously a couple that would make instant starters that are hurt, right? So that you can't, Chris Richards, he's automatic almost if he's healthy.
He was mentioned tonight.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where unfortunately the pool is weak at that position. I think to Johnny's point, it's definitely a recognized position though going forward, I hope. And like goalkeeper, I think those 2 positions are going to excel the U.S. in the future. But right now it's definitely both positions are a weak spot for sure.
All right, let's talk happier times, midfield. Johnny, take us to this talented group. You said it's your favorite U.S. midfield of all time. Who's the superstar? Who jumps out of you off the page?
Do you mean who are the superstars?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. I do.
This is just, and this is why I'm so excited for the World Cup. And you guys will, might call me a homer, just call me Captain USA, Captain America if you want. But
if not now, when? This is the time to be patriotic for sure.
And the best part is that you've got a crew that is not only going to be at the World Cup this year and get that experience. They're going to be the rock of the team heading into what we see here on home soil in 2026. So just to answer your question, and I don't need to wax poetic about these guys, but Weston McKennie is an absolute beast. Brennan Aronson is somebody that gives you a lot going forward. Tyler Adams is somebody that really helps you in playing that Bronny Bro role, making sure that he's got things cleaned up between those center backs and those attacking midfielders, and Musa is somebody as well that is the wild card in that group. It's like if Aronson and Adams can play well together, and Musa can just be injected into that lineup as a free roaming midfielder, that's the core of the team.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, as we all know, there's always that one player in the World Cup that announces himself to the world. Don't be surprised if it's Musa. I think all of us on the U.S. side have seen it in a smaller scale. Of course, he's at Valencia. He's really starting to kind of find himself in Spain. I think Musa is a guy to watch for this World Cup.
How great would it be for Musa to really do something and just like crush the match against England? Because he's from London. He grew up in London, right? He's an American citizen by birth, so he's able. I don't know his personal history, I admit, of like whether he was ever in the mix to play for the English national team or if he just always felt American in his heart. That's my fault for not knowing that. But I do know that it would be pretty nice for us to take a player born in England or, who grew up in England and run them against England and have them wreck shop. Would be great.
That would be amazing. I mean, like, I can tell you, as you all know, I work for The Athletic, and The Athletic does unbelievable coverage of this event, but we are separated by the Atlantic Ocean as far as The Athletic FC and our European coverage and our soccer coverage here in the United States. And I can promise you this: most of my colleagues and most people that I know that live in England are not even concerned about the Black Friday match against the US. And my response to them has been, I mean, y'all haven't won a game in 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not pretend like that England's coming into this World Cup as a well-oiled machine. I mean, you saw Harry Kane today in the EFL Cup, played 50 minutes against Nottingham Forest on the road, and he was invisible on the pitch. Yeah. He's not in his best run of form right now.
I think he had one cross and one foul drawn from my putting him on my DraftKings lineup earlier today. I happen to know that. So
yeah, but at least it's coming home, right?
It's never coming home. I'll tell you, it's coming home to the United States in 2026 is what it's doing. But yeah, I agree. And I wonder, John, like, if they're not scared of us, what are they scared of? Do they think they've just automatically taken a walkover to win the group already? And they're just moving. They're worried about the knockouts. It's strange.
Oh. I mean, I don't want to say it's English arrogance, but it's English arrogance. I mean, they look at their group and they see the United States, Iran, and Wales, and they're like, we're the class of that group. We could just kind of sleepwalk through. And I think Southgate's probably his biggest job as the manager, except for picking the 11 full of a totally loaded roster, making sure he's got the right guys in there, is like motivating his guys for this group and making sure that they know, like, even game one against Iran, like, Iran is a sneaky good squad at this World Cup. So I think it's going to be a competitive. It's going to be a competitive group. I honestly think that's like my overall takeaway, is that this group could be one of the best groups in the World Cup as far as competitiveness going down to that. In that final 5 minutes on the third group match day, where the table's changing every goal in that last 20 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in this group.
And I think the biggest thing and that we'll see in this group is goals, right? The need for goals and who is going to put the ball in the back of the net. That sounds rudimental, but it is what it is. I mean, these defenses are going to be lackluster. You mentioned ours. Wales doesn't have a great defense. I mean, I can't imagine Iran's defense is that stellar. So you're really looking at
Wales has Ben Davis, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I'm sure that you want to build your franchise around him, right? So I think it comes down to goals. And I mean, luckily we have a couple of guys up front that can put the ball in the net, but definitely an area where we saw some surprise picks here. From my perspective, I think one of the areas that Greg is really going on a limb, trying something different to see what we can pull and put in the net. But the forwards are, quite the group, ranging from MLS to Turkey, kind of reaching the globe here with this group. Anyone stand out to either of you guys in the forwards?
I'm just baffled as to how Ricardo Pepi didn't make it. I don't want to get into this. I don't want to answer the reverse of your question and not the question you actually asked, but I'm just looking at this list and I'm like, I guess the person I would identify as why is he here is Jordan Morris. And I know he's got 49 something caps, I think, and he's have done some good things for this program, but he's coming off a season where he didn't really do well. He got worse and worse as the past season progressed. His impact on the pitch like diminished with every passing couple of weeks in MLS this year. The Sounders won CONCACAF Champions League, historic achievement, obviously, but they also missed the playoffs for their first time as an MLS squad in like years and years and years. Every single year they've been in MLS for over a decade now. They've made the playoffs, and this is the first. So I would call this a not a, even with the CCL victory, which is kind of attributable to like what last year's team did to get them in the position. I just think it was not the best Seattle Sounders team. So I'm wondering like why Jomo, who is not that great, he's never really been a creator, and he's just someone who like used to have speed, but his speed is diminishing. It just questioned to me why he makes the team over a guy like Pepe, who's like really starting to find form and has contributed to a goal in 3 or 4 straight matches for Groningen in the Dutch league. I really like Ricardo Pepi. Him and Jesus Ferreira are like a dynamic duo. Having those two guys together could, like, on a World Cup scene, could only have strengthened us for 26. And it's that balance. Like, yes, we want to do well. We're very focused on this cup. John took me to task on Charlotte Soccer Show the other day for speaking about 26 too much, but like you got to do it. You got to like develop guys. You got to bring guys in who will benefit. That's why I think Mihailovic should have been in the midfield over Carlos Roldan. I didn't get to say that, but I believe it.
There's no doubt about it. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. We could go all day about that. And
so I'm sorry to the Sounders. You know, you're the greatest MLS franchise of all time, and us lowly for the Crownies can only bow to your greatness. Whatever, blah blah blah. The Emerald City. It's all crap. Like, I just think Roldan and Jomo don't belong going to Qatar this year at the expense of Pepe and Georgi Mihailovic. And rant over, I guess.
It's a good take. It's a great take. And to me, these inclusions are PR inclusions. They're MLS PR inclusions.
Worst possible kind, yeah.
And the reason why I feel that is because I don't think these guys see any minutes. Agreed. I don't think they get on the pitch.
Right, exactly.
So
even Ferreira is going to struggle to get on the pitch, and he's way better than Morris.
I would debate you on that one. I think he has. I think he will get on the pitch.
Yeah,
but those other two, I'm just like, it's a PR roster move. They're playing in the CONCACAF Champions League. It's again, like you said, MLS royalty. Mm-hmm. And when you're thinking about your last couple spots, and you know these guys aren't going to get any time, just throw the guys that play in MLS on the squad. I think that's what happens. So anybody that like is going to freak out about the inclusion of those guys, like, it's not like PFOC and Pepe are like on this incredible run of form either. So
Pepe is finding form though. He Pepe's getting hot at the right time, which it just would have. Why not bring him in? But
that's fair. That's absolutely fair. But go ahead, Matt.
No, I was gonna say I as you guys know in the group text was pretty adamant about Roldan and Morris. But to your point, John, I think, you know, the more you think about it, they're not going to play, right? They're veteran presence in the locker room for a young team, right? Danny Brams, to your point, we have to look one eye to 26, but also right now too. These guys are going to be able to kind of guide these kids through some of these experiences. Now, obviously these guys didn't make the last World Cup. We don't want to dwell on that, but you know, they've been there, they've seen it, they've gone through CONCACAF qualifying, you know, they kind of have gone through the ringer in CONCACAF Champions League and other areas. So I'm okay with it. I think a guy like Brandon Vasquez, Danny Brams and I were talking about too.
If you're gonna throw a bone to MLS, why not bring in Brandon Vasquez?
Yeah, someone like that. But again, I'm okay with it. You know, I think those guys could use the experience. It could have been a great opportunity for them to see what the World Cup is like for going to 2026, but they're not going to get any minutes. And so I think Johnny put the nail on the head there. Like, these guys are, just give them their piece, and they'll be also a good presence in the locker room, I think, too.
All right. Well, let me do this. We have, let's say we got the 4-man back line. We got the goalkeeper. If we're going to say Aronson, Adams, McKennie are starting midfield with Musa in the mix to maybe replace one of those, or maybe do a 4-man midfield. But let's pick 3 of these forwards that you think will be the starters. You said you think Jesus is going to get on the field, John. And who do you put him ahead of with Pulisic, Reyna, and Josh Sargent as the striker? Which I don't really. I would rather see Jesus, but I feel like it'll be Sargent. What do you think?
Well, the big question is does Berhalter play with kind of like a false 9?
Mm-hmm.
Does Ferreira, Sargent, do they even start in the first match? And is Timothy Weah somebody who's injected into the lineup with Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic? Because if you ask me, like, if you're going to go for a 4-3-3, like, I consider the Pep Guardiola false 9 approach. And I play a non-striker up top in the middle, whether that's Gio Reyna or whether that's Christian Pulisic.
It could be any of those three. Yeah, exactly.
And I inject Timothy Weah in there. And that's the one point I wanted to make. I know that we don't have a lot of time left, but the one point that I wanted to make, Geslin, you talked about, as far as breakout players are concerned, like, and thinking about Musa, and we're all on that same page. Like, I want to make the point about Timothy Weah, and he falls into this category for me that I think isn't talked about a lot. But when I look at this roster, I think there's one word that jumps out at me, and there's a group of players that fall into that category, and it's physicality. Like, who are the big dudes that can step onto the pitch and throw some weight around, right? Yep. Pulisic can't do that. Ferreira can't do that. Reyna can't do that. You know who can? Timothy Weah.
Yeah.
You know who can? Weston McKennie. I think having Weston McKennie and Timothy Weah in the starting 11 gives the United States physicality on the front line and in the midfield that could actually go a long way and really help this squad in this World Cup. I think Weah could be the breakout player for the United States in this World Cup.
It would be great to see it. I mean, he's had the hype and the potential for so long. I mean, I think it would be a great opportunity for him. And to your point, such a great shout on the physicality. You know, a guy like Daryl DK kind of came to my mind too for that physicality and that presence. Not the greatest skill set up front, but to your point, if we need a guy that stands up there, back to goal, takes on a tackle from, Harry Maguire coming through the back of him, but passes it off, Daryl DK could handle that as opposed to someone like a Christian Pulisic being that same role.
Don't sleep on your boy Haji Wright. He's scoring goals for fun for Antalyaspor in the Turkish league. That's all I will say. I know it's just the Turkish league, but he's
prove it. Hey, I'd be happy to be proven wrong. I'll be happy to be proven wrong.
I'm with John. I'd put way ahead of him, but I like that Haji Wright has a presence on the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that is to me the it's not a shock pick, but it's like, hey, when I look at this, I'm just like, oh, that's a surprise that he made this squad. And then I also want to give the Canary a shout too, Josh Sargent. I think that it's so strange because, like Tim Ream, he's somebody that hasn't been a part of this group during the qualifying cycle. He's played his way into the squad through great play with Norwich City last year in the Premier League, and now is regular for them in the Championship this season. And he provides that physicality as well. He's a big, tall guy who can play up front. So if you ask me to inject a striker into the squad, it's Josh Sargent. It's not Ferreira.
Okay. Well, hey, I think we were planning to go 15, 20 minutes and we went over 30 here because there's a lot to say, but really good to chop it up with you guys, be on camera, extend the brand, World Cup banter. Everybody join the pool. We're up to, let me check here real quick.
I haven't joined yet. I got to join.
Well, your name is on the list, John. Your name is on the list.
Well, definitely
Rachel, though.
Someone took care of Rachel.
Shout out to Rachel. She is the first person to pay. Rachel's the first paid entry to get her money in. So we're excited about that for sure. There will be a free version. I'm opening this up to everybody. So if you want to pay for the entry, you can win some prizes. If you'd rather just like have fun and not pay, then I'll score your entry and then you can feel bad when you win and you would have got money, but you didn't. So
I really appreciate you guys letting me crash the party. I couldn't help myself. I needed to join.
We loved it. We loved having you anytime you want. And if you're not going to come often, I got to get your pick on the record. Where does the U.S. team fall in this World Cup as we get here 2 weeks away?
Second in the group, they advance out and they lose in the first round, the first knockout round. That's how I felt for months. And you can, if they lose to Wales on match day 2, I guess it is officially in the World Cup, you can change that prediction to see it going home early.
I'm matching John's prediction.
I am in the same boat, and France is always welcoming. We will take anyone that wants to join us as well. So feel free to come on in. But no, I'm with you guys. I think second in the group, knocked out in the first round to probably the Netherlands or someone in that realm for sure.
It was Belgium the last time the US was in the World Cup. Wouldn't be surprised if it was them again. We talk about a golden generation, right? The US is in the beginning of theirs and Belgium's at the back end of theirs. So that would be a fun matchup.
Got to win something to be a golden generation though. So
well, this their last chance. This one is for Kevin De Bruyne and his buddies.
All right, boys. Thank you very much. Everybody that enjoyed the video, like and subscribe and because we're going to be doing this all through the cup. Appreciate you.